Hello, my little weirdos. Well, I have the tea. Just took my pain meds. Settling in, waiting for the hour it takes for them to kick on in. And I happened upon something in one of my groups, my activist groups, that I haven't yet seen mentioned. And this is very good tea. Well, good tea for democracy. Ooh, good tea for democracy. Good title. Okay. Do you remember that Donald did the West Point, right? The cadets graduating, all that. And afterwards, they're supposed to shake the hand of each graduate. And Donald ditched after that. After he did his rambling, babbling, what the hell, word salad speech thing, he left before the end of the ceremonies and thus skipped shaking the hand of the current president. All the TV, all the stuff we saw, news or whatnot, said he left and then he was later found golfing. He said he had to deal with China and Russia and he went golfing instead. And, that was getting the laughs and the anger and all that stuff. And in the back of my mind, I was thinking, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, has been thinking, even the channels and the stations that have bent the knee and give less harsh retelling of a news event, it doesn't look super flattering to him. And the ones that have bent the knee usually kind of couch it and frame it in a way that doesn't look quite so bad. And so it did occur to me more than once, every time I'd see something reported like that and they'd show him golfing, I'm like, and and the quote that he said he had to go deal with Russia and China and that's why he had to leave early. And it just wasn't connecting with me as obviously with others either, because for those places that have already acquiesced to him, have already bent the knee, just submitted, they're a lot gentler on reporting about him. And they weren't. They weren't. I mean, it was very obvious. If you skip your duties to go play golf, that looks bad. And I was wondering, why are they just letting them do that? How come they're not arguing about that? Like they do about every little thing somebody does these days, that they're angry with. Well, this morning, I got the democracy. I got the tea on democracy. Yeah, and it's good. So, a lot of times I notice people say, oh, how come nobody told me? Or how come I didn't see that? Or something. And a lot of times when somebody says that to me, or where did you see that? I'll be like, I didn't see it. I read it somewhere. It was an article or, and they're like, oh. Which tells me people are more apt to listen to something, even if it's a conversation meant to be watched, an interview or something. You could still be ironing or getting ready for something, and still catch what's the conversation's about. But reading, they actually have to sit down and give all their attention just to that. They really can't be doing anything else when you're reading. So I thought this is important news that more people should know. More people than will read this long post. It's more like an article. And so, if that is what I have to do to get the people that don't like to read long things, if I, like a teacher in elementary school, have to read it to you for you to hear the information, I've begun doing that. And thus, I'm going to take a moment to get something to drink before I start this. I think you'll find this rather interesting on more than one level, and it answers the question. It answers a few questions that weren't even asked in this discussion. I'll be back. Okay. You listening? You're comfortable? Got something to drink? Let's start. I'm going to try to do this without pausing, but I took my allergy meds at the same time, and when that starts breaking up, I'm going to have the post-nasal drip, so I might have to stop. But that's the only reason I'll be stopping. West Point's, this is the time. West Point Cadets Silent Revolt. Anonymous graduates and faculty reveal why President Trump didn't shake their hands. By Robert Hawks. May 28th, 2025. So this just came out apparently late yesterday because it's only been posted 2 hours ago, maybe. at that time. Sorry. West Point, New York. In an unprecedented turn of events that unfolded with all the subtlety of a brass band playing taps backwards, President Trump declined to extend his stay at the graduation ceremony of the United States Military Academy, leaving the newly minted second lieutenant's hands as unsullied by presidential sweat as the honor code itself. The mainstream media, ever allergic to nuance and eager to maintain their symphony of static, hasn't said a peep about the real reason for the snub. But through a series of clandestine interviews with anonymous graduates and equally reticent Academy faculty members, I have unearthed the hidden story of this ceremonial duck and cover. Sorry, allergies. You'd rather have me stop than just listen to me hacking. Okay. The reason, dear reader, lies within the very marrow of West Point's ethos, the honor code. For those unfamiliar or who haven't been paying attention since the dawn of the Republic, the honor code stands stark and absolute. I will neither lie, nor cheat, nor steal, nor will I tolerate the actions of anyone who does. I'm going to say stop right here. This is what I have said. It's the principles. It's the ethics of it. And it's the principle of what you do when no one is looking, or you don't think anyone is looking or seeing or recording, and still doing the correct thing, the human thing, the humane thing. Those are ethics and those are principles, and that is why I fight for things that I have no stake in. I myself am not in the LGBT community, but I will fight tooth and nail for anyone who is. That is a principle. And you don't just concede your fucking principles if those principles actually mean something and aren't just words that you speak until you get into a tight corner. Now I'll continue with what that was said, what was written. One newly minted officer who would only identify themselves as Second Lieutenant K offered a hushed explanation. We realized that by shaking the hand, I am so proud and grateful to the current incoming military folks. And this is, listen, I'm gonna cry. We realized that by shaking the hand of a man already convicted of 31 felonies, we'd be tactically tolerating those actions. It's not just semantics. Under our code, we can't wink at dishonor and just call it ceremony. Faculty members, equally cryptic yet unwavering in their adherence to the honor code, found themselves wrestling with the potential fallout of the traditional handshake. Cadets approached me after final drills, admitted an anonymous instructor. They were genuinely concerned. Sir, if I shake his hand, am I violating the code? They weren't being flippant. These were people who signed up to die for principle if called upon. Don't underestimate how seriously they take them. Another faculty officer known as Major T put it bluntly. Look, you can salute the office. That's tradition and lawful. But to physically clasp the hand of a man who has lied, cheated, and stolen when our code demands zero tolerance, that's not a handshake. That's an ethical trap. The consensus among these sources was clear. A handshake would have become a symbolic endorsement of the very actions the honor code forbids. And it wouldn't be a momentary lapse either. Cadets feared it could haunt their entire careers. Years from now, explained a cadet, someone might claim that our commissions were tainted, born in an act that violated the very code we swore to uphold, which is which is a very valid concern. If anything that you do of good in your service can all be discredited as, well, you didn't mean those because they can say anything they want. Anyone can, because you shook them a hand and acted like it was fine when that person defiles all of your codes. So I get that, because I was never in the military, but I did do 3 months of paramilitary law enforcement with the Corrections Academy. And I gotta tell you, even before then, I guess I just have a very strong moral code. Interesting, because I don't ascribe to organized religion. And I seem to be told that I have a strong moral code. Imagine that. Didn't Republicans say that if you don't have a religion, you don't have any kind of moral code? I've said before, if I have to die in this, I'll do that before I concede and kneel down. So I really get this. Sorry. Thus, an extraordinary decision was made behind closed doors, framed in the same ironclad logic that has guided this institution since the days of Benedict Arnold's ghost. Better to forgo the handshake altogether than compromise the moral backbone of the Corps of Cadets. The decision, while sparing the graduating class an ethical quagmire, also spared the nation a broadcast spectacle that would further underline our national rift. Can you imagine, mused Major T, an entire line of newly commissioned officers refusing to shake the president's hand, yet saluting him? It would have been the perfect image of our times. Honor intact, but unity fractured. I will respect you because you're the president. I will not shake your hand because I don't respect you as a man. Is basically that last phrase, I'll respect you. That's me. That's not, as you see, I'm not reading. That is what a principal is. I'll respect the office. That's why, for 4 years I said, hey, he's not my president. I don't respect it. And they're like, excuse me, you can at least have respect for the office that he holds. No, fuck him, And yet when we said that, they're like, he's your president now. You're daddy. Shut up and deal with it. I said the same thing. I'll respect the office. I don't respect the person holding that office. And that's basically what these guys have said. Maybe that's why it really got to me. And I needed everybody to know, because this is why I push it. I don't tone it down. Because when they tell you, you should tone it down, guys, that's when you know it's affecting them. And that is when you turn it up. And so, President Trump's decision to depart swiftly wasn't born of political cowardice or personal pique, but of a carefully orchestrated plan to protect the very soul of West Point. Louise, you should be very proud of your fellow cadets. After all, in a world where handshakes can be loaded weapons, even the commander-in-chief had to recognize that the honor code brooks no compromise. Or perhaps he simply realized that he'd be exposed. Because they knew that would not be good optics. As dense as he is, and as little as he knows about military, paramilitary, any of that, and believe me, he knows very little. I may know more than he does, and that's no expert talk. But even he realized the optics would not be good. He knew that those pictures that are going around of the different last few presidents shaking the hands, and then him in a golf cart, we've all seen those. He's smart enough to at least know the optics would not have been good when it was compared. And everybody would say, why wouldn't they shake his hand? So better look like he's off golfing. He said he had to go deal with China and Japan, right? That's what was reported. And then they showed him golfing. They'd rather have people go, oh, look, he's golfing, instead of giving respect to the cadets, instead of the real reason. That's pretty effed up. Then you know how bad that would have looked to a lot of people, especially ex-military and their families. They would have definitely known what was being done there. So for them, the optics, just think of it, the optics of him spurning the cadets and going golfing was preferable to the Republicans than the truth that the optics would have been, oh my God, because not one person in that graduating class of the military respect him. That they're getting desperate, people. This is what I'm trying to tell you. Or perhaps he simply realized that he'd be exposed. As for the graduates, they walked away with their honor unsullied, commissions secure, and a story to tell that would never appear on cable news, but will echo down the halls of the academy long after the brass bands fall silent. In the end, What's a handshake really when compared to the weight of an oath sworn under the long shadow of the Hudson? After all, even the president can't break the spine of an honor code written in blood, sweat, and the quiet resolve of those who know that a commission earned in truth must never be tarnished by the stains of another man's lies. End of the story. I know I interjected some of my thoughts, but with the ADHD, I have to, because if those things pop up, sometimes I don't say a lot of the things that pop into my head. So if I feel I have to break in and go in a tangent or something, then it's something that I know I don't want to lose. It was something like, it was something like an insight, if you would. But I don't know about you, but a lot of that is actually, I don't know if the word telling is as accurate, but it's very, oh my gosh, what is the word I'm looking for? All these words are going through my head, but it's not quite. I want to say a stunning revelation. My mouth does not want to work today, and that sucks because my brain is all over the place, as you can see. When I do something like, it's not that I don't have any words. It's that I have too many words, and I'm trying to figure out which ones are the most important to get across to you. I'm really struggling here right now. Today does not seem to be a word day for me. You know, some days you just like you're constantly dropping some things, or what? Some days you just your mouth is not working with your brain. I think this is one of my days for that, which is unfortunate considering I do videos that are unscripted. Oh my. But you know, I still don't look as silly as Donald. How's that? So, just to recap, the hot tea is good for democracy. And I have the hot tea. That is remarkable. Remarkable is a good word. That Trump's administration would rather him look like he was snubbing the military after he keeps saying how he respects the military. They would rather it look like he snubbed the military, lied to them, said he had to talk to China, deal with that, China and Russia, and then was seen golfing. They preferred that optic than the truth, which is the cadets would refuse to shake his hand. Let that sit and simmer a little bit while you think of some of the reality of that fact. He would rather it look like he snubbed the military, lied, and went to play golf again on taxpayer money than for it to look like the cadets didn't respect him. Wow. You know, okay, people don't do those kind of decisions because it's not a question of one makes you look bad and one makes you look good. They both make you look bad. It's just which makes you look less of an ass. Or which would damage your image less. This means that they're feeling backed into a corner. They're feeling like they're being exposed, like it said. And no, not just the underlying, but the underlying. Like when we found out that Qatar really never did offer it as a gift. He asked them to do that, but he had, prior to even going over there, had arranged for to buy it, or he was saying he needed one, and there's some being made. He told that story, but he's like, why don't you just let us use it? Nobody else is using it, type of thing. But again, the optics of that would look real bad. It would look like he's very very narcissistic and it would expose him for being exactly what he is, narcissistic, hung up on appearances, because Air Force One is definitely old. It's like 40 years old. It's definitely old, but it's not decrepit. It's not unsafe. It might not be the prettiest or the most modern or the sleekest looking inside, but it's functional and it's safe. And that's all that you need, unless you're a narcissistic asshole who judges everything on appearances. And I guess his penis plane isn't big enough or fat enough, or doesn't have enough girth or enough gaudiness to it. I don't know. But whatever it is, that's the tea. If you didn't know, that was broke a while back. He actually initiated the whole plane thing with Qatar. It wasn't them doing it to him. Yeah. So, this West Point thing is... wow, huh? Very curious on what you all not only think about the revelation, the story, but do you like those long articles? Am I correct in thinking that maybe I'll listen preferably more than you want to read something, and maybe that's why some things that only have come out in print and not an actual video of some type where you can listen to the article? People don't want to look at the written stuff and hit the hear it in podcast form type thing. So I figured I'd make it a lot easier and just be like, I'll do it. Do you like that idea? Do you think I'm on the right track with maybe trying to reach people with stories that they might not typically have heard because they didn't see it? It was a read article. I'm curious, because that's something that's occurred to me in the last couple weeks, and I've kind of been watching to see what stories are just in print and how many people are talking about it, as opposed to stories that other people or videos have talked about and they're talking about it too. So, am I onto something here? Is that true? If there's a long article like I read, are you more apt to just scroll past it and figure I'll hear something about it in a video, and you maybe never do, so you forget that there was a story revealed? I'm just curious. It occurred to me more than once in the last few weeks, and usually when something like that happens, it's for a reason. Something is trying to tell me to pay attention to something, and I'm just trying to figure out what that is. So then this occurred to me a few times. Is this correct? Are people more apt to listen as opposed to you scroll past a story that sounds interesting, but I don't want to read that much. It's more than 2 paragraphs. Screw it. Is that true? Because if so, does it sound okay or understandable, or when I'm reading it to you? Because, some people tell stories well because of the way they speak or their voice or whatever. and some people not so much. It's annoying. So I want actual critique. And I'm not saying just say, "Oh, you suck," or "I didn't understand." I'm actually trying to hit and reach people that wouldn't have heard some of these stories that might have changed your perspective on things. And they don't hear them because they don't read. They listen and watch things, but they don't actually just read. Anyway, let me know. And I'm also very curious what you think about the whole truth and the situation. I'm just very curious. Please stay on topic if you're going to do a critique about the story and the things I mentioned. You're just wasting your time if you're not being helpful, is all I'm going to say. You trolls have popped up just being stupid. And it just wastes all of our time to have to go past those stupid posts that are just, Trump's your daddy. Whatever. No, he will never be my daddy. Ever. In fact, I'll be right back. I just finished this last night. I haven't even actually done the outline or the clothing or anything, but pretty much that's the tea. And that's the tea, folks. Well, really curious what you guys think about that West Point thing.